This is Ariana Pettigo. It is May 5th, 2020. So I had the opportunity to interview two of my sisters. Both have had very different, both have been on different sides of the medical field during the coronavirus pandemic. One works as a respiratory therapist in Russellville, Kentucky, and the other one lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and she recently had a baby. I thought it was interesting to hear from both viewpoints exactly what it had been like to be a patient in the hospital and to be treating patients in a hospital during a time of international crisis. I hope these two interviews will be informative. This is Ariana Pettigo. It is May 5th, 2020. So I had the opportunity to interview two of my sisters. Both have had very different, both have been on different sides of the medical field during the coronavirus pandemic. One works as a respiratory therapist in Russellville, Kentucky, and the other one lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and she recently had a baby. I thought it was interesting to hear from both viewpoints exactly what it had been like to be a patient in the hospital and to be treating patients in a hospital during a time of international crisis. I hope these two interviews will be informative. This is Ariana Pettigo interviewing Erica Pence, and it is April 9th, 2020. So Erica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. So the point of this interview was that I wanted to ask you about your time in the hospital. I know you recently had a baby,
That's right.
March 21st.
Yep.
That was kind of when all of this with the coronavirus was getting a lot more heightened and there were a lot more restrictions on everything. What was it like going to the hospital? Because that's obviously a different experience than during normal times.
Yes, it was a different experience, and it was probably, I think it had been a week after I live in Louisville, so that was the first week that they had, kept everybody home from school. Me and my husband, we were both working remotely from our homes, and I was induced 2 weeks early than I was originally planning to have my baby. And so it was kind of right at the beginning when the hospitals were trying to figure out, like, what's the protocol? What are we going to be doing? When me, my husband, and Pete went to the hospital, they had staff at the door. They were taking everybody's temperatures as soon as they came in, and you had to have a reason to be going into the hospital, because at that point they weren't doing any kind of elective surgeries or letting visitors in. So I told them I was going in to get induced. I was going to the labor and delivery floor. So they let me in, they checked my temperature, they gave me a badge saying that they had checked me. And then Pete was my one person that could come in with me. So they checked his temperature and gave him like a stick or two. And as of that day, like, it had been changing periodically that whole week. Like, it had been like 2 visitors and then 1 visitor, and they've been going back and forth on all their what you can and cannot do. But as of the day that I went in, I was only allowed 1 person to come in with me, and he was the only person that was allowed with me the whole time. It couldn't change. I couldn't have brought in anybody else. Once he was in, he was my only visitor that I got to have the whole time.
Did they do any extra precautions as far as Phoebe was concerned?
As far as the baby, I mean, we kind of joked about it. Like, we were like, this is the best time to be at the hospital. The hospital we were at, it's not, it wasn't downtown. There were no COVID patients that were in there that we knew of. So it was a weekend. It was very quiet. we joked that this was the best time to have a baby because it's probably the cleanest the hospital has ever been. You know, all the nurses, I mean, I felt like they were taking normal precautions with like the gloves and hand sanitizer, you know, washing and cleaning and all that. We only had one doctor that came in that wore a face mask. Everyone else just kind of came in normal. Things may have changed since then. This was like 3 weeks ago. One other thing I think that has probably changed too was my one visitor, my husband, he was allowed to go out to the car and get our bags. He was allowed to go out and get like Jimmy John's and come back to the hospital. And I think like I heard at the other hospital, like the next weekend, they weren't allowing people to do that. Like once you got into the hospital, that was it. You weren't allowed to go in and out. So I do know that stuff has changed. But as far as the baby, this was my first baby, so I don't know how like anything else was different. But besides us not being allowed any visitors to come and see us, even when we were in like recovery, I think that was probably the biggest thing that they were doing then. But like I said, we had one doctor that came in that wore a mask, and I don't know, you know, she was a little older. She could have had like a pre-existing condition or maybe wasn't feeling good. I don't know. But that was the only doctor that came in with the mask on.
So do they keep you longer when you're induced, like afterwards, to make sure that the baby's okay, or?
It actually depends on what kind of delivery you have. If you have a C-section, they keep you like, I think a day longer. I had like a normal delivery, so I was only kept like 2 days.
Okay.
I was just induced and it took 30 hours. So that's why I was in the hospital so long.
Bless your heart.
You should go while to come. But yeah, the whole time we were there, we, you know, as soon as we went in, we knew things were happening like on the outside world that were like very stressful and uncertain. And as soon as we went to the hospital, we were like, we're not watching the news at all. This is a stress-free zone. This baby is coming no matter what. We're just not going to worry about the daily updates, you know, how many cases are happening and, you know, Louisville and all that stuff. We're just not going to look at that. We're just going to focus on ourselves and our health and our baby. And we honestly didn't even watch the news we haven't watched the news since we've been home. Like we'll read like a few news stories and stuff online, but it's just like kind of stressful and there's nothing you can do about it. We're going to be staying at home anyway. The doctors and pediatricians told us not to have any visitors. So besides going to the doctor for like her weekly checkup and her weight checks, we haven't been anywhere. She hasn't met anybody. We have a front door that has a big like glass window. So her grandma and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends, they have been stopping by for like front porch visits. And we put some chairs on our front porch so everybody can sit down, and we just crack open the door and show her through the door. And if anybody drops off presents, we're like, just leave them outside and we'll get them later. And
Yeah.
So just taking all the precautions that we can, since it's kind of unknown, like how this affects infants and what it could happen. We just want to keep her in a secure little bubble as much as we can.
That's really good. So what are you guys doing as far as like if you guys need any supplies from the store or anything, what are you guys doing as far as that? Since obviously you don't want to get out too much. You don't want to bring anything back.
That is true. We've been doing kind of two things. We've been using Target Drive Up a lot, where you can just order everything and they'll bring it out to your car, which is really helpful. The thing that kind of stinks about a lot of online or delivery services like that is you can't order like diapers and wipes. So I had to like run into Target the other day because we needed some more diapers and I couldn't put it on a pickup order. I couldn't ship it. I had to like just run in and grab a pack. So we're trying to minimize the amount we spend in the store. So we got everything that we could with like a drive up or pickup order, and then anything that they wouldn't allow us to put on there, like you can't get hand soap, you can't get any kind of sanitary products or diapers, things like that. And we'll just take turns, like one of us will just run in, get like the few items we need, and then just, you know, hand sanitize when we get out to the car. And wash our hands when we get home. So try to minimize. I think we've only been to the grocery like once since we've been home. So, and I sent out my husband Pete to do that. So he went and got groceries and brought them all in and just, you know, threw away the bags and sanitized the counters. So far, we're good. But I'm just thankful that I have, like, you know, somebody that I live with that can help me. Like, if I do need to run to the store, I was in Target and I saw a mom that had like a 2 or 3 year old in her cart, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she brought her kid out. And then I was thinking, what if she doesn't have anybody who can watch her kid for like 5 minutes so she can run in the store to get diapers? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
so bad for people like that. It stinks.
So how has this affected your daily life, apart from, I know you said that it's really hard with the visits and everything from your family. You can't see them with the new baby. What's it like day to day for you?
Well, I actually saw a meme about how people are comparing, like, you know, being at home through this quarantine is like being, you know, having a newborn. You don't know what day it is. You don't know the last time you took a shower. So honestly, if this is going to happen, that we had to like be on lockdown, it is kind of a blessing that it is right now while we have a newborn who we don't really want to get out in the world anyway and exposed to germs. So we're just like in a little bubble with her. But yeah, just feeding her, loving her, changing her, you know, only going to the doctor, which is kind of good that we're not like tempted to maybe take her out somewhere else, like, and possibly expose her. Because I think, you know, new babies, their immune systems are so fragile anyway. Like, you don't want to like take them out to the store just because you're bored, or let's go to the mall and walk around, and then you could potentially be, you know, exposing them to RSV or the flu or this crazy stuff. But I mean, for me, it's my whole world's been flipped upside down with a baby anyway. But you know, Pete had to go back to work this week, and it has been really nice because he has been working from home, so he doesn't have to go into the office, which gives us like extra time to bond and spend together as a family. And it's been great to have the extra help out. So we've been trying to stay like really positive and focused on the fact that we're all healthy, she's healthy, and you know, he gets to work from home, so that's just extra time we get to spend with each other. And
So
hopefully it'll all be over with soon so our friends and family can actually hold her and meet her, because that's definitely the hardest part is, you know, having friends come and visit and they're like, all I want to do is hold her, and like, no, I want you to hold her too, but it's just gonna have to be a while. So it's strange. It's very strange.
for sure. And are you using like any social media to like Skype or video call, so that way you know, you can also show off your baby that way?
Yeah, so a lot of FaceTime and Facebook Messenger video. I've been using that a lot, just because it's kind of free and easy for people to use. This is my first time using Zoom. It's pretty nice too. But yeah, so that's been really great. And just having, you know, being able to take videos and pictures and send them to everyone and text people, and that's just been a great way to like keep people updated. And I feel like people may even be like reaching out more just because, you know, they know that we're here and we can't have visitors. So like even some friends and stuff who may not have like wanted to FaceTime, you know, maybe earlier, or like, yeah, let's FaceTime now. So it's really nice to be able to have all this technology at our fingertips to be able to stay connected and show off our baby.
Okay. This is Ariana Pitigo interviewing Lindsay Hutchins. It is May 5th, 2020. So Lindsay, what's it like working as a respiratory therapist at a hospital right now in the middle of a pandemic?
It's interesting because some days there's not a lot of patients, and then other days there's so many that you can't even imagine.
So are you all treating coronavirus patients right now?
Yes.
I know there was a time that the hospital in Russellville wasn't treating patients and they were sending them to Bowling Green, right?
Yes, they were trying to keep them all in a COVID unit together, but now we're keeping them as well.
So what kind of precautions do you all have to take going into the hospital versus what you used to just be able to do in a normal day?
Well, now we only have limited entrances to come in, and then you're given a mask when you enter, and your temperature is taken before you can, and then you have to sign some papers saying you haven't been running a temperature and things like that. And then, you know, trying to think of anything extra. And then, I mean, you don't take off your mask all day.
That's gotta be hard.
So you asked me a different question.
Okay. So, do you normally come straight home from the hospital to like get changed and everything so that way you can help prevent the spread as well? Or do you have to change after as soon as you leave the hospital?
What I've been doing is I take clothes to work with me. Mm-hmm. So I change at work, spray my clothes that I have taken off with Lysol and put them in a bag, take my shoes off and spray them with Lysol and put them in a bag. And then I put on clean clothes to wear out to my car. And then I come home and then I strip off in the garage, and then I take all my clothes and put them straight in the washer and do a sanitize wash. So lots of changing of the clothes. Lots of mooning of the neighbors.
I guess I've lost my questions. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus? Like as a whole?
Can you repeat that? You cut out.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus currently?
I think that it's very serious. And I think some people are getting too comfortable with it already because they've been quarantined too long. So, you know, everyone seems to be an expert right now about everything, especially on social media. And I think, I mean, until you see it and how it's attacking someone's life, I mean, you are gonna be a little naive about it and think, well, I've been cooped up in my house for 4 or 5 weeks. I'm ready to go and just do everything like normal. And right now, that's just not probably the best. But people are gonna do what they want, and they're gonna watch the numbers increase, because we've already seen it already this week at work. And we're fixing to start opening things back up, but we can't keep everybody home forever either. So I just think proper hand washing, you know, safety precautions. I would leave your shoes off at the door, that kind of thing. You know, change clothes when you come home. Just kind of keep things, you know, just do a little extra right now until they know more about it.
And I would imagine that you are aware that they've already said that the cases are going to spike in the fall. What are your thoughts on that?
I can see it. I mean, everything comes back in the fall. We're going to have flu, we're going to have strep and RSV, all that stuff. Everything starts popping up in the fall again. And, you know, my children have stayed so much healthier since they've been home, because usually we're always sick with strep throat. So, I mean, but when everybody's together, everybody just shares everything. So, we'll just have to wait and see.
So working in contact with these people who have the coronavirus, has it changed your outlook from the very beginning when the cases were first starting to be announced to now?
It's a lot more contagious than what you think. You think everybody's coming to the hospital with shortness of breath and just, obvious symptoms, and they're not. They can be coming in for something as little as a urinary tract infection, and they test positive for it. And you're like, what? So, they may just be a carrier of it, and they don't have those symptoms, and they've come for another reason. So, it's kind of scary because you never know who has it sometimes. But I mean, the media and things like that have played it where you just know that you have it. You don't ever know who has it. So we try to treat everybody like they're kind of dirty and germy.
Do you know anyone personally who has the coronavirus?
I did know somebody who had it and has recovered.
Oh, that's good.
They were not symptomatic with it though, so they were not on the end of it where they can talk about it, really, about what they experienced, because they really never had very many symptoms of it.
And since you have a family and you're trying to teach your kids at home now, it's a lot, I imagine, in your day-to-day activities just to get through a day. Versus,
yes. Homeschooling has been very tough. Kudos to those mommies and that can teach their kids. It's been hard. It's been hard because even the kids, they get frustrated because it's, something different for them too. And they miss their teachers and things like that. And the social aspect of it. And Mason doesn't like that I make him erase everything and write it neat, because his teacher wouldn't do that. She'd be like, okay.
So everyone's getting a little stir crazy.
Oh yes, everybody's going really crazy. I'm glad it's the last week of school.
Yeah. So, hang on a second. So how would you say that your interactions with, say, family members outside of your immediate family has been now, or even your friends?
A lot of texting, a lot of Snapchats. Cooper's helped me figure that stuff out. FaceTime calls, things like that. It's not really very normal because I don't like being on film or taping myself. I'm not a selfie taker, so that's kind of different, but it's helping pass the time, makes things different and fun, learning all kinds of things.
That's good. And so would you say there are both positive and negative aspects of the current situation that we're in?
I think so. I mean, I'm gonna walk away from this knowing that teaching was definitely never going to ever be in a career path for me. And kudos to the teachers, because, my kid is not the best ones that I thought they were. I definitely have attitude.
I'm sure the teachers will appreciate that sentiment.
Oh, yes. And I can't wait to, go see like my grandparents and things like that. I'm going to realize that, I know they're going crazy because, they like to get out and go. And I mean, at least I get to still go to work. So it's not complete quarantine life like most people have had it.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add to any of this that you would think is important or necessary to comment on?
I think everyone needs to make sure that everybody checks on everybody. Keep a, just make some extra phone calls or text messages to check on people, because mental health is very important right now. Because, it's a different time. It's a pandemic. It's, I don't know why there's so many people at Target and Lowe's right now. It's not Black Friday. But, just try to be healthy and wash your hands and don't buy all the soap, because some of us still need it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different times for sure. Can't wait to see what the rest of 2020 brings.
All right then. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.